So good evening. Good evening. This is the regular council meeting of Tuesday, October 11th, 2022. The meeting is occurring in council chambers as well as via Zoom. This webinar is being recorded and will be available on the city's YouTube sites after it is officially published. So calling the meeting to order, and the first item is adoption of the minutes. There's two sets of meeting minutes that we need to adopt for this evening. The Governance and Operations Committee meeting of September 26, 2022, and the regular council meeting of September 26, 2022. The recommendation is that these two sets of meetings, both held September 26, 2022, be adopted as circulated. Is there someone to make that motion?
So moved.
Councillor Butler, thank you. And Councillor Dobie, you're seconding that. Does anyone see any errors or omissions or have any questions on these two sets of minutes? Seeing nothing from the floor, all in favor? Against, if any? Carried, thank you. Public question period. Ms. Lucchini, is there anyone in the gallery with you that wishes to speak at public question period?
I do have one member of the public here, but he does not have any questions of council at this time.
Okay, great. And have we received any email correspondence that needs to be read out?
We have not.
Okay, great. So public question period is closed. Item number 3 is communications. The Columbia Basin Trust Climate Resilience Program grant opportunity. And at this point, I would like to turn the floor over to Ms. Tricia Davidson, our Director of Parks and Recreation. I believe you're going to provide the report for us. Great, go ahead, Tricia.
Thank you, Mayor Payson. So yes, in your package, you have a report and a couple of attachments dealing with an opportunity to apply to the Columbia Basin Trust Climate Resilience Program for the Grotage Avenue Esplanade Development Project. So you may recall that project back from, we tendered it back in 2019. With the opportunity to see that project commence in the spring of 2020. And of course, COVID sidelined those plans and that project was deferred at the time. And so we've kept it in abeyance all this time. And of course, back in 2021, we had the Butler Park Light Pole project that became a bit of a priority. And so CBT graciously offered to move the monies that we had originally received from them from a previous grant for the Grotage Avenue project over to the Butler Park project. So now, as of current day, we would have no grant funding to put towards the Grotage Avenue project at this time. So in 2022, there was a lot of work done related to the active transportation planning network. There was some of you probably participated in the community consultation that occurred. And Grotage Avenue, again, has been highlighted as an area of priority. So coupled with that, there have been a couple of recent grant announcements, both through the province and through CBT, related to shelf-ready projects to support active transportation planning and networks in the infrastructure to support those activities in communities. The key criteria being that those projects needed to be shelf-ready, meaning that all the work has been done for the planning and we're simply waiting for funding to proceed. So the project, when we spoke to CBT, we were put towards this climate resilience grant program. CBT offered to allow us to put in an expression of interest for the project, basically giving the first line of awareness to CBT as to what the project is. And then if we proceed to the next stage, we would actually have to do the full grant write-up, which is not expected till a little bit later this fall. So to support this actual grant application, updated council resolutions are required because of course the ones that we would have done back in 2019 were for a different grant program. And of course, much time has passed and this would certainly strengthen our application process. So maybe just to give you a bit of information about the grant itself. So this one allows for 75% of eligible costs up to a maximum of $500,000 to be considered part of the grant application. The Grotage Avenue Esplanade project, you may recall, is a synergy project that includes above and below ground work. So the above ground works are obviously the landscaping and the actual development of the kind of trail infrastructure that would connect Jubilee Park right through to Rotary Park, or kind of the end of the pedestrian bridge. But underneath that are water and sewer lines that need to be updated. And if my memory is correct, they're well past their useful life and are in the neighborhood of 75 to 80 plus years old. So of course, it would not really make sense to proceed with above ground works without dealing with the underground works at the same time. So this project was fully tendered. We were in the process of awarding this project back in 2020 when COVID hit. And so in our opinion, this project is certainly more than shelf ready, and is literally, with some tweaking of a tender and updating some budget information, is felt to be ready to proceed. So some financial information to be aware of. So in 2019, when the tenders came in, the lowest bid was in and around the $1.2 million for both the above and below ground works. As we've seen with many projects throughout the city, there has been significant inflationary costs that we've had to consider. And all of the people that we have been talking to in relation to how much inflationary costs we should be budgeting for have recommended a 50% increase on any costs associated with this project itself. So that came to now a new total project cost of in the neighborhood of about 1.75 million, which would include about a 20% contingency for the project, which is what we had originally also budgeted for back in 2019. So of all of these costs, we feel that there's approximately 735,000 that would be deemed eligible expenses through the CBT grant program. Of course, 75% of those still exceeds 500,000. So we would be recommending making an application if we're invited to that next round for the full allowable amount of $500,000. And so if, of course, if the grant is awarded to us, the remaining costs, including any cost overruns, would be the responsibility of the city. And that would all be brought forward to us in a contribution agreement that we would ultimately sign and bring back to council at a later date. So the recommendation today is to pass the required resolution to support the grant application to the CBT Climate Resilience Program for the Groudage Avenue Esplanade Development Project.
Very good. Any questions of Tricia? And does anyone want to make that motion? Councillor Dobie, I'll get you to make that motion, and Councillor Butler seconded the motion. Does anyone want to speak to this? Have anything to say?
Long time coming.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Gattafoni Robinson. Yeah, thanks for keeping this on the radar, and great work. And hopefully we'll get some grant money and be able to see it to completion. Any other questions? None? Okay, all in favor? Against, if any? Carried. Thank you very much. Thanks, Tricia. Are you going to be staying with us, or are you going to be departing?
I don't believe there was anything further on the agenda I was required for. I'm happy to say if there was, if I missed something.
I didn't see anything either, but so if you click off, I totally understand. Thank you. Nice to see you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Tricia.
CAO McClure, sorry, I neglected to ask, did you want to say anything about that before we move on?
Just a couple of things. One, just to reiterate what Director Davis was speaking to, just that we're in the expression of interest. So we've still got some ways to go here. It's not, so if we get to that stage, then we got to go through some more work, which is a good thing because it gives us a bit more time on getting some of the detail and tendering information. And also that our Director of Public Works, McIsaac, had spoken to the fact that we've got some money in the capital budget for 2023 to do the underground portion as well. So if this all comes together, I think it would be fantastic. As a new individual that walks around in your Esplanade, I can see where the classified missing link makes sense, because you've got that beautiful walkway and then the Esplanade, and to tie that together, I think would be really special for the community.
Great, thank you. Item 3.2 then, moving on, is proclamation request. So the recommendation before us is that the council proclaim October 2022 as Foster Family Month in the City of Trail. Do I have someone to make that proclamation? Councillor Butler, thank you. And Councillor Dobie, did I see your hand up there? I wasn't sure. No? Someone else want to second that? Councillor Gattafoni Robinson, thank you very much. Okay, any questions on this proclamation? No? All in favor? Against, if any? Carried. Thank you. Okay, so we have a zoning bylaw in front of us, and I believe there's going to be 2 recusals on this zoning bylaw. Councillor Jones and Councillor Santori. You're both on mute. So if you're talking, we can't hear.
Yeah, I'll recuse myself, and I believe you still have quorum, so
Yeah.
I'll sign off. I have nothing to report.
Okay, so if you want to just, okay, so he's left the meeting, Councillor Jones.
Do you want me to just leave the room or whatever and someone can
So if
text
you-
me? or-
Yeah, if you put your camera off and then put yourself on mute and leave the room, and then someone will text you to come back. Okay, so this is item 4.1, zoning bylaw amendment, bylaw 2922, 2022, third reading and adoption. Ms. Lucchini, are you taking this one?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Our 125 Enterprises has applied to rezone the properties at 8263, 8273, 8283 Old Juanita Road from single-family residential zone R1 to low-density multiple family residential zone R6 to allow for the construction of a 3-unit townhouse on each of the properties. Proposed zoning bylaw amendment bylaw number 2922, 2022 received first and second readings on July 4th, 2022. A public hearing was held on July 18th. The minutes of that hearing are attached with council's reporting. At the public hearing, 1 verbal submission was received and 1 written submission submitted in advance. The concerns raised are summarized in the reporting, with the primary concern being the potential blockage of views to the north. Any future construction would cause the neighboring property owner. As noted by CAO McClure in his reporting to you, staff have spoken with the developer, and the construction plan is to develop housing that is similar in style to the units that were recently constructed in the nearby lots. I think in order to cantilever out, as was suggested at the public hearing, it would significantly raise the costs associated with any development, and the developers will avoid that at all costs. The bylaw was sent to the Ministry of Transportation for approval as required under the Transportation Act because it is within 800 meters of an arterial highway. We have received ministry approval. The bylaw was before you on August 16th for third reading so that we could at least get third reading in before a changeover in council, but unfortunately we did not have quorum at the time the bylaw was brought forward. So it is being recommended that you consider the reporting following public hearing and decide if this bylaw will receive third reading and subsequently adoption.
So Ms. Lucchini, I just want to confirm though, are we going to do this in 2 motions? So if the third
Yes.
reading gets approved and then adoption in a subsequent
Yes, please.
motion? Okay, great. So I guess I'm just gonna open it up to the floor now. Does someone want to proceed to adoption of third reading of this bylaw? Councillor Butler, does someone want to second that? Councillor Doby, thank you very much. And does anyone have any questions or comments on this bylaw? No, I'm seeing none. Okay, all in favor? Against, if any? Carried, thank you. And now we'll move to adoption of the zoning bylaw amendment, bylaw 2922, 2022. Do I have someone to move adoption of this bylaw? I'll go Councillor Doby and Councillor Butler this time. Again, opening the floor for questions. Seeing none, all in favor? Against, if any? Carried. Thank you very much. Now we're on to council committee reports. So Councillor Gattafoni Robinson, you're first. Do you have anything to report to us today?
I don't have anything to report, Your Worship.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Councillor Joe,
Your
sorry. Sorry, we need to get Counselor Jones back. Sorry about that. Ms. Lucchini, do you want me to text Counselor Jones?
I can.
We'll just take a little bit of a minute here. All right, Counselor Jones, can you hear us? Okay, I'm going to
Yes.
start section 5 again. So this is council committee reports. First up is Counselor Gattafoni Robinson. Counselor Gattafoni Robinson, do you have any reports?
No, I don't, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you very much. Counselor Jones, you're next. Do you have anything to report?
No, I don't.
Okay, thank you very much. Counselor Butler, do you have anything to report?
Nothing to report, Your Worship. Thank you.
Okay, Counselor Dobie, do you have anything to report?
Yes, but like the other counselors and yourself, I was also at the forum last Thursday, so short memories here. Also on Saturday, I attended the Truth and Reconciliation. There was about 7 or 8 booths set up down in the White Garden area and then in front of the Riverfront Center. And on October the 4th, myself, along with some of the other candidates, not only from the city of Trail, but also the village of Warfield, we attended a 2-hour session with, I think it was grade 5, 6, and 7 students at Webster School. And they came in 2 different groups, and we had a chance to talk about government at the municipal level and answer some of their questions. It's the youngest group I've ever spoken to, and I have to say we had a lot of fun. So thank you. That concludes my report, Mayor Payson.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Counselor Dobie? Seeing none. Okay, I have a short report. So I met Mark McLaughlin, who is the new CAO of Kootenai Savings, met him along with our CAO, Mr. McClure, and that was nice to have that meeting for new leadership in our community. So we just want to welcome Mark McLaughlin to Kootenai Savings, and we wish him a long and successful career there. I as well attended National Indigenous Day for Truth and Reconciliation and Orange Shirt Day on the Esplanade. I just want to thank all our city staff and all the other groups, which were many that were there and participated by setting up groups, and the barbecue and learnings, and the Royal Theatre, who had every half an hour there was viewings of 3 or 4 mini short films, which was really nice. So thank you to everyone for that community effort. Attended the Smoke Eaters home opener with many other counselors that were there. I also attended the Kafamori music concert, and this was a concert that raised money for a refugee family that was moving into Rossland, so that was really nice. Attended the Chamber of Commerce and Kootenai Savings Business After Business event last week. That was the first time that event happened in over 3 years. So Councillor Butler, thank you for that, being the branch manager at Kootenai Savings for organizing that. And I also attended the season opener at the Bailey Theatre featuring a band called White Horse, and it was a packed house. They always do a free concert at the beginning of the year, and that was really nice to have that, the season opening again. Again, people are just happy to be gathering and out there in our community and seeing one another. So that was a nice week of events. And then on Friday, I had the pleasure of meeting with Minister Conroy and members of the Columbia View Lodge leadership team. This was organized by Mary Martin, who is a tireless advocate of improving Columbia View Lodge's exteriors and gardens. She's very passionate about having the exterior match the excellent care received inside the facility. And I think it was really timely, considering the Nelson area just has received approval for a 75-bed long-term care facility. So, you know, when you look at, we have, as far as a little bit of older facilities that are always in need of patches and upgrades, I think it was a really nice contrast to just show the minister and get it on the radar so that we can, as a community, have continued improvements and hopefully a new facility for long-term care. So That was the last meeting I had. So just short report this time. Does anyone have any questions from me? No, nothing? Okay, let's move on then. Item number 6 is the consent agenda. So we have one item. It is the report on invoices paid for municipal services, September 1st to the 30th, 2022. The recommendation before us is that the item on the consent agenda be received for information. Is anyone willing to make that motion? Councillor Gattafoni Robinson, thank you very much. Is anyone willing to second that motion? Councillor Dobie, I saw your hand first. Thank you very much. Is there any questions about anything on the consent agenda in this report? Seeing none, all in favor? Against, if any? Carried, thank you. New business, does anyone have any new business from the floor today? I don't see any hands up, so there's no new business. And with that said, it is 6:22 and we'll move for adjournment. Do I have someone to move for adjournment? Councillor Butler, thank you very much. All right, have a good evening, everyone.